You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Haunted Histories with your host Penny G. Morgan, right here on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Haunted Histories, here, only and exclusively on Parasearch Radio, with your very own history nerd, me, Penny G. Morgan, in case you didn't realise. Well, last week we spoke with Porter of the Tennessee Wraith Chasers about Salem. Porter, who's also, Tennessee Wraith Chasers, who do the Ghost Asylum show, the Haunted Town show, and I'm sure those of you who listened enjoyed it. I know I did. I enjoyed making the show. Porter is a proper southern gentleman. But if you haven't had chance as yet, don't forget that and all the Parasearch shows are on both Spreaker and YouTube for you to listen to and even download to distract you when you're, say, at the gym, out running, or even looking over after the kids over the Easter summer holidays that are coming. My kids actually started their holidays a week early as their school had to shut down due to heating and plumbing problems. They seem quite happy about it. Mummy, on the other hand, is already starting to feel the pain and eye up the wine aisle in her local supermarket. But anyway, I'm also still feeling the pain by training for my 10K on the 15th of April. Please do feel free to sponsor me. If you have a few quid spare, I'd really appreciate it. It's for a great cause, Dementia UK, and as a very definite non-runner, I am really pushing my limits to do this. Anyway, lastly, before we get on to tonight's show, don't forget that the competition to do an investigation with Trident Paranormal at Her Majesty's Prison Shepton Mallet is still very much on. Go to the Parasearch page, like, comment, and share the post, and you could be in with a chance of winning those 2 free places. Full terms and conditions are on the post, and please check them before entering. Blah, blah, blah. Hi, Jay. Nice to see you. So tonight, we're off to the US of A again to chat with fellow Parasearch presenters and also bloody genuinely awesome people, Jay and Teresa Lynch, about the beautiful Rhodes Hotel. Now, if you go onto the Rhodes Hotel website, this is how the building is described. Sitting quietly north of Indianapolis is the Rhodes Hotel in the town of Atlanta, Indiana. Many people have travelled through this area whilst going from Chicago to Indianapolis. Some stopped to spend the night, some never left. You will enjoy your evening or daytime visit to Rhodes Hotel. The Rhodes is under new ownership. The Lost Limbs Foundation has purchased the location with assistance from 2 of the strong supporters of the charity. Hi, Emma. Money collected from events, investigations and tours will go to keep the location available to the public, help children that have lost limbs, and to pay back the initial investment in the property. So whilst the place itself may have been both a brothel and a speakeasy in its time, it's now raising funds for the Lost Limbs Foundation. Go and check them out if you have time. So as you can imagine, I was wondering what history to focus on. And being a lover of the social side of history and the whys and the wherefores, I landed on the Prohibition movement of the USA and exactly what the reasoning was behind this. Now, The actual term speakeasy dates back to at least 1837, when an article in an Australian newspaper, referred to sly grog shops called in slang terms speakeasies. The term also appeared in a British naval memoir in 1844 and denoted a place where unlicensed liquor sales were made. In American history, however, they do date back to pre-prohibition, as according to an American newspaper in 1889, unlicensed saloons, hi Rich, in Pennsylvania were known as speakeasies due to the practice of speaking quietly in such places in public or inside it, so as not to alert the police, neighbours or other authorities. Hi Jem! Now, it was many, many years later, during the actual Prohibition era, that the term became synonymous with these unlicensed drinking joints. There are believed to be four main reasons that Prohibition was actually introduced by the 18th Amendment and became effective in the January of 1920. Well, America's national mood had turned against drinking when the country entered the First World War in 1917. A group called the Anti-Saloon League argued that drinking alcohol was damaging American society. This organisation used political means to get their message across by pushing for local and state laws and promoting dry candidates for office. The fact that drinking was not something religious people particularly believed in as it went against God's will was another reason for prohibition. From a moralistic perspective, many felt that it was morally wrong to be drinking and enjoying alcohol, whilst the country's young men were away at war fighting. Now, what is interesting, and probably sent these moralists into a total spin, was the fact that there was more participation from women and some real characters as well. One is an actress who went by the stage name Texas Gwinnen. "Hello, suckers," was her affectionate riposte when greeted by punters. And in 1920s America, Texas Gwinnen ruled the night, the undisputed queen of the nightclubs. A wisecracking, besequined, outrageous dame who became an exuberant symbol of the Roaring Twenties, as well known as Babe Ruth, Charlie Chaplin and Lucky Linda. She was extravagant and frivolous, and with a heart as large as the state that she hailed from. Now, she fraternised with bad boys, shall we say, and was known as a good bad girl. Whatever that means. But she was fiercely... Hi, Kaz. Oh, you found the link then, Kaz? I was just messaging Kerry to ask her to send it. So if you could message Kerry to ask her to send it out for me, that means I don't have to multitask, because I can't read my script and type at the same time. I've had the kids all day, and my brain's frazzled. Anyway, so Tex Gwinnen was... she was a good bad girl. She was fiercely loyal to her friends, a real family girl, still lived with her parents, and a voracious reader who aimed for a book a day. That beats even me. And my husband calls me the bookworm. That's how he introduces me to people. Talking to Kerry Greenaway earlier, one of my fellow Parasearch, well, actually the boss, but one of my fellow Parasearch people, and we were talking about this. She is another one. She reads, well, as much as most people breathe, and even she couldn't cope with a book a day. So either this Texas Gwinnen was reading sort of Janet and John books, or she really did have a fierce appetite for reading. Well, Tex was... I know you love a good bad girl, Jay. That doesn't surprise me. I think you'd have liked Tex if you read up on her. But she was introduced to the world of the speakeasy early on in the Prohibition. Her wisecracking, sarcastic charm proving to be a positive sales impact on the drinkers in the joints that she worked. However, she was ambitious and wasn't happy just being a hostess. She wanted to be a businesswoman. How dare she? Ironically, though, for someone who spent most of her time cajoling customers to pay as much as $25 for a fifth of scotch, she never touched a drop of alcohol herself. As one club she part-owned shut, another one would open, and eventually she went out solo with her 300 Club in New York, and a major success it was. Le Cub was a smash from the beginning, but the cops wouldn't leave Texas alone. There was a new sheriff in town, the incorruptible U.S. Attorney Emory R. Buckner, and Texas was in the sights of the prohibition enforcement agencies. In 1927, police raided the 300 Club. By now, Tex was used to the drill. She ordered the band to play the Prisoner's Song as she was hauled off to jail. Paraphrasing one of her most famous lines, a detective quipped, "Give the little girl a big handcuff." At the police station, Texas entertained a horde of entertainment reporters, prisoners, police and federal agents, with several renditions of the Prisoner's Song during the 9 hours that she was behind bars. Sadly, she suffered a bout of ulcerative colitis in 1933 and died at the age of 49 after surgery complications, exactly 1 month before Prohibition was repealed. Probably she was the kind of person who would have been successful in all manner of fields with her ability to read people and, shall we say, give them what they didn't know they wanted. Probably what was little known, though, was one of the practical reasons for the prohibition. The boosting of grains, such as barley. The then President Woodrow Wilson instituted a temporary wartime prohibition after 1917, to save grain for food, which does seem plausible, albeit a little bit unfair. The irony, or perhaps not, depending on how you look at it, was that Prohibition led to giant waves of crime, making the era synonymous with gang leaders such as Al Capone, who always claimed to be only a businessman, but during 1927 and 1930 more than 500 gangland murders took place. Bugs Moran and he battled for control of Chicago's drinking dens, and not only made themselves very powerful, but very rich also. It is estimated, and I haven't actually been able to find the source for this estimation, so don't necessarily quote me on it, that during Prohibition, $2,000 million worth of business was transferred to bootleggers and gangsters from the brewing industry. Now, if you were listening to Sean's show before me, and he was chatting to Tom Warrington of the Pure Paranormal Show, he mentioned that Alcatraz was somewhere he'd like to go. Good old Al Capone was imprisoned in Alcatraz, or one of the prisons he was in anyway. There you go. I'll find a way to link these shows if I can, I really will. But one of the main reasons, or one of the big reasons that Prohibition failed, is because of the lack of agents monitoring Prohibition, and also the salaries they were paid were so minuscule that it was easy to bribe them to look away, especially when the areas they covered were so vast. But the most predominant reason? People. It was not something that the average American particularly wanted or gave their support to, and most would have been willing to drink in speakeasies. If they could afford it, $25 for a shot of whiskey is quite pricey. The prohibition lasted until December 1933, when the Wickersham Commission reported that it wasn't working, and Congress passed the 21st Amendment repealing prohibition. Hi, Kerry. Hi everyone. Hope everyone's well. Thank you for joining us. So, 1933, prohibition repealed under the 21st Amendment. No more Fat Sam's Grand Slam. Or am I the only one that has the Bugsy Malone music pinging through my head whenever I think of this music and whenever I think of this subject? And don't worry, I'm not going to start singing to you because there's probably some kind of copyright rule that I'm going to get shouted at. So, shall we listen to the interview now? It's a really good one. You wouldn't expect anything less from the Lynches, though, would you? But let's have a quick 30-second break, and then we'll hear from them talking about the Rhodes Hotel.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
Okay, and now I'm joined by my lovely friends from across the pond. I have a lot of lovely friends across the pond, but these two are especially lovely. Jay and Teresa Lynch. Hi, guys.
Hi, Penny. Thanks for having us on today.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. A bit croaky, as you can hear. It's a pleasure as always, guys. We have been talking for quite a while before we decided to start recording this interview because I don't get to speak to Jay and Teresa as much as I would like because they're always involved in Paramania and everything else. But they interviewed some friends of mine. Was it last week you interviewed Three Girls in the Dark? Was it last week?
Yes, it was.
It was last
Just
week.
last Monday.
It was,
Yep.
yes. I am going to listen to that link when I'm able to concentrate enough to listen to it when I'm...
Cheap little pop there. It is on digital download and also could be found in the archives on Paramount Radio.
Good. You plug as much as you want, my love.
Cheap little pop in there, yeah.
I was leading you into that. I was giving you the opportunity to subtly plug it, you know. It had a lot of very good feedback, so I have got it downloaded, ready to listen to when I get the chance to sit and listen to it. I promise.
It was a good show. They're entertaining. They're wonderful people.
They are, aren't they? Well, they were
They're
actually the show this week in 28th. They were supposed to be doing, but they've had to postpone it. So we will be getting Three Girls in the Dark on as well. We're going to be talking about Veliska, the axe murderer's house. But you're very lucky because we're joined instead by Jay and Teresa, and we're going to be talking about somewhere called the Rhodes Hotel in Iowa. Is it Iowa?
Atlanta, Indiana.
Indiana. So, and you began with I.
You were
Close enough.
I don't know. My geography in the States is horrendous. So now the Rhodes Hotel is linked to Robin Terry, who owns Ashmore Estates, isn't it?
And the Art Theater.
Oh, he owns the theatre as well.
Yes, he lives in the Art Theater, owns it and lives in it, and he also owns Ashmore Estates in Ashmore, Illinois, now also the Rhodes Hotel.
Okay. And it's also linked to the Lost Limbs Foundation, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's exactly why Robin actually loaned Mike Couch, who is the founder of Lost Limbs Foundation, the money to purchase it for the Lost Limbs Foundation so they would have a venue to be able to host events at and things like that to help raise money for the charity. So Robin actually owns it but doesn't own it. He's actually bought it and given it to Lost Limbs Foundation.
Oh, right. It was a charitable donation to the foundation.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Cool. And does Mike actually lives there, doesn't he? Does
yes,
Mike
he
live
does.
there?
He's now completely moved into it. They've built him a room in the backside of it, and a well, for the lack of a better word, a living room area over into the garage. He's got a huge garage there, and they built him a room there where he can go over there and entertain and stuff. When people are investigating, he can get out of the building and stuff altogether, and not be in the actual hotel.
And it's so well insulated that if he's got his TV on, you cannot hear him.
Absolutely
in the
cannot.
rest of the place.
Wow. Because from the photo, I mean, I'm gonna download a few more photos onto the site of this place, especially that beautiful black and white one that we were looking at, and the one that looks like it's drenched in blood. That's going on there as well. But it doesn't actually look like a conventional hotel from the outside, does it?
Well, this is like one of the Old West type of hotels that you would see in a John Wayne movie,
Right.
where it's a very small, quaint hotel
In a very small, quaint town.
Yeah, very small,
Very
quaint
small town.
Right.
There's like one bathroom for the floor for everybody to use.
Right.
Instead of
On the
how,
first. Then on the second floor, there's 2 bathrooms.
Right.
yeah, there is 2 up there.
But there's only 11 rooms total on the
Right.
floor. It's just it was built back in 1893. So
Right.
it's before, and when people still traveled by rail and buggy more than anything else. So they're not, most of the hotels back then were not big or grandiose like
There
we
was
have
a hitching
now.
post out front.
Yeah, there used to be an old hitching post out front
Right.
and stuff. So it's an older hotel. For us, it's old. I mean, I know for you guys over on that side of the pond, you guys are like 1893. That's just
like
barely old.
yesterday. It's like yesterday.
Right.
Yeah, but our history is a little bit younger than that as far as us being colonized. So, 1893 is an old place for us, especially still be standing with being made with wood and everything else. Most of those.
Are you talking about when you booted us out because you decided you could do it better?
Well,
since you put it like that.
Oh, let's get a bit of politics in here. Let's get a bit of politics in here.
Yeah,
so it's kind of almost like a boarding house, as opposed to, it's kind of what we'd probably call a boarding house, as opposed to a conventional sort of like a Waldorf type hotel.
Absolutely.
So what was the town that it's in? What was that like used for? What was the town?
It's just a little crossroads. It's got a railroad that goes through there and stuff, and it was just a little crossroads in Indiana. Doesn't really have a lot of anything to it. It's a very, very small town. It was probably more used, from what I understand, for the railroad and stuff. It was just a pickup spot, drop-off spot for small commerce to come through there, and a watering spot for like when they still had the steam engines and things like that. So they had to have those along the ways, and of course every stop became a small town of some sort. Some grew, some did.
Right.
And Atlanta stayed fairly small.
Right. Right. So how far is it from where you guys are in Ohio?
We're about
2 hours.
Yeah, about 120 some miles. It's only like 2 hours.
Next state. Is it like the next state along?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's easier to get to there than it is to get to the other. It's quicker to go to Atlanta, Indiana, than it is to go to the other side of Ohio. It's a 4-hour drive to the other side of Ohio. It's only a 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive to Atlanta.
Okay. So, the place was built in 1893. Was it a boarding house straight away, or has it been a residential home, or?
No, actually, the Rose that built it, the gentleman that built it, he built it for his wife. He was always on the road traveling and stuff, doing sales and things. And she wanted some more things to do at home and like that. Business-wise, and he built it for her to give her company and stuff and give her something to do because that's what she wanted. And so he had actually built it for her. And eventually, over the time, it did become a private home for a while. And it was apartments for a little bit. I mean, not for long at all.
Not for long. It was a brothel.
It was a brothel for a while. It was used during the speakeasy, during the Prohibition. It was They also used it for a funeral home in the one parlor. During the Prohibition, which is a funny story in its own right.
That is, because they would back then, I guess, at that time, they would lay somebody out in the coffin in the window.
Stand it up.
And people would just kind of like drive or walk by and pay their respects. Well, these people would walk by and purchase a bottle of illegal alcohol.
They would hide the moonshine behind the body. They would actually reach in behind the body to a shelf and the coffin behind the body. And as you paid for your illegal liquor, they would hand it from behind the body. Who's going to search a coffin and a dead body for bootleg booze?
Not many people.
Quite genius, if you ask me.
The Prohibition in general was quite ingenious. So the history bit I did before we're doing our interview was on the speakeasies because I find it quite fascinating, especially in the UK that's got such a, shall we say, a rich history in drinking. I can't imagine people in the UK being told they weren't allowed to drink. I don't think it would go down very well.
It didn't here either.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We know most of our war was financed by illegal booze. I mean, all the people that even Washington produced his own booze. So did Jefferson. Most of them all produced their own booze and sold it and consumed it themselves, and we're built on it.
Well, I think a lot of Western countries are. Look, when I was doing a bit on the workhouses recently, and I was talking about how most people, even in the workhouses, would be given half a pint of beer with their meals because the beer was better quality than the water. And although it was very, very weak beer, it's not sort of like 4 or 5% proof. It was still, they were still given beer to drink with their meals because it was safer than the water. So, and when you look at people on the ships, they were all given alcohol to get them through horrendous journeys on ships and things. So I do find the whole Prohibition thing quite amusing. But I can't help but think of Speakeasy and think of the Bugsy Malone film. That's the song that plays in my head every time I think of a Speakeasy. But it's all quite interesting, and obviously it did lead to more crime, and you had your Al Capones and all of that stuff because of it. So it's yeah. So how many times have you investigated Rhodes Hotel? Would you guess?
I'd say 15 to 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
we have spent a lot of time there.
We love that place.
We were friends with Gail Sanchez, who owned it before Robin bought it, who bought off of her.
Right.
And for the Lost Limbs Foundation. So, and we would help. She would help every once in a while have us come over and help host events, small events, but they would always go to nonprofit charity things like no kill animal shelters, food pantries for the local church, whatever she wanted to do. We would go over and help out with stuff. So, and she would give us we would go there on Friday and we'd stay till Sunday. So, we were pretty much part-time residents there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, if it's only a couple of hours away, I don't blame you. It's a lovely looking building. So let's start talking about some of the experiences that you had there.
That's mainly going to be Teresa.
Well, when the first time we ever investigated there, we were told that there was a certain room that the spirit of a prostitute would grope the men that tried to sleep there.
Okay.
So of course, Jay requests that
Now,
room.
you guys got to remember my sense of humor.
Jay requests that room.
Twisted.
We get there, and he lays down on the bed, spread eagle. And he says, please.
Oh, the vision. The image in my head right now.
Laid a $20 bill on my belt buckle. On my belt buckle.
And he says, please, don't be gentle.
Nothing.
Not a thing happened.
Nothing.
Oh, no.
Offered up money and everything. Nothing.
We've slept in that room countless times.
Oh, yeah. Nothing. That room gets me in a lot of
dear.
trouble, though, because I have a question on that one. It always gets me in trouble, and it's extremely inappropriate sometimes.
It's extremely inappropriate most times. So we don't want to go there today.
Hey, I can do inappropriate. Go on.
I always ask the question, and if a ghost is the spirit of a human being and things and stuff, and if it's a prostitute ghost and they do grope men and all that stuff in that room, and we've stayed in that room several times, I asked flat out, and nobody could ever give me a straight answer. If I'm in bed with my wife and I get groped by a prostitute ghost at the same time, am I really getting a threesome?
Yes.
See? Somebody agrees with me.
Yes.
Most people just go like, only you would think of that stupid-ass question. I'm like, but it's a serious question. Does it count? It is a human spirit. Does it count as...
If you believe in spirits and everything else, I can't see why that wouldn't be.
And if Teresa's not participating and I'm in there by myself with her, am I cheating?
Yeah, you see, now that's an interesting one. Do you know what? I've often, being serious, I've often wondered that when people have had sexual encounters with a spirit, are they actually cheating? And this is true. I asked my husband this. If I told you I believe I'd had a sexual encounter with a spirit, would you accuse me of cheating? And he went, how could I accuse you? Because you may not necessarily have been controlling it. So in that case, is it cheating or is it assault?
Well, it depends on if you ask for it.
To me, it
Like
depends on...
Jay would have laid in the bed and said,
I dare you.
Here we go.
Okay, it's not my fault.
Please do this. But if you're just investigating somewhere and something assaults you, then that's different.
Yeah. But
so I think it's in the context of it.
I suppose. But yeah, I think...
Leave it to me.
Yeah, I'll leave it to you to conduct that research then, Jay.
I will.
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah, I'm investigating a fort in Felixstowe on the coast in England in a couple of weeks. And me and my history of military people, I always get military guys not attaching to me in that way, but feeling comfortable enough to come through and talk to me and all this. And it's a standing joke with all the groups I go on investigations with all the people I know who've come on investigations with me. Penny will get some young military guy who likes her and will talk to her and nobody else. And I was joking about this with the fort that I'm going to be going to soon, because it's got a full history from like 1700s onwards of military use. And the person who runs the group I'm going with has always said to me, do I want a private room so I can be on my own?
Oh.
Yes, I do. Thank you for the consideration.
That's
So
kind of what I said. I called her a
absolutely.
cheeky cow, and then I said, yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you could have a laugh with it though as well. I think that's why the young military guys come through to me, because I'm cracking jokes all the time. I don't take it too seriously. Not in that. I take it seriously, but not, if that makes sense.
But
so
no, it makes sense because it's my opinion, and you see too many people nowadays within this field. It was a trend for the last several years about all the negativity and the demons and all that crap and stuff like that. But if it's energy, and you want to put out dark energy, then I believe that you want to attract dark energy. But I figure that laughter and humor and all that thing are energy also, and it's positive energy. And I think if you put out positive energy, you want to attract positive energy. So it's what you're looking for and what you're trying to find, you will find.
Yeah. It's the Monsters, Inc. theory.
Absolutely. It is. It's that simple.
Laughter
really
attracts more,
that's true.
has more energy than fear.
Absolutely. I believe in that. And so I've always investigated. Now I can be quite serious and when I need to be or when I choose to be, but I always bring some form of levity to it because once again, if they are people, there are more happy people, more jovial people in the world than what there ever was dark evil people.
Yep.
They only bring up a small percentage of our population are Jeffrey Dahmers and John Wayne Gacy's and Jack the Rippers. It's just such a small portion. So why would you think that every spirit that crossovers is that type of person? Give me a break.
Yep, they would have had a sense of humor in their day.
Right. Not only that, but if you're a spirit and you've got a group in room A that is just, they're being rude, they're being nasty to talking to each other.
Or asking the same benevolent, monotone questions. Are you a boy or a girl?
Really monotone, not having a good time. But in room B, you've got a group that's laughing and joking and cutting up. They're having fun. Who are you more than likely going to have?
Upbeat.
I agree.
Reminding you of what it was like to be alive.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things I try and do, I mean, I mentioned to you about this group that I was working with at Strangers Hall recently, and they were a lovely group of people, the little group I'd been allocated, a great group of people. But one of the things I was trying to do was to make them laugh. It was to make them relax. It was to make them feel at ease, because I do find that you absorb more when you're at ease. And if you're a bit nervous because you've never done something like it before, or you don't know what to expect, or you think it's all going to be like Ghost Adventures or Most Haunted, which is the first thing we say to them, it's nothing like that. Put that to one side.
It's a demon.
That's Hollywood. Oh, don't. Yeah. Put that to one side. That's Hollywood.
Right.
It's a lot more subtle than that, but believe me, when something does happen, you will be so excited that it's happened. But I do try and crack jokes, and I do try and make people laugh, and I do, because A, that does seem to create that special kind of energy, and B, it puts people at ease. And I've always been like that, so it's not going to change. But when things are starting to happen and you have got to be serious for a moment, I can be serious. I can sort of say, right now, listen, you can. The spirit box just said your name. Did you hear that? And all that kind of thing. But I will tease the spirit, not in a nasty way tease, but in a kind of... Oh, so you can make that go off once, but you can't make it go off twice, and all, that kind of thing. I was just thinking about your prostitute, Jay, right?
Yeah.
What era was it a brothel?
The early 1900s, I believe. It was when it was a hotel also.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, yeah, because she was actually staying in one of the hotels, and the alleged history and rumors, which we can't find. I haven't found actual proof of it yet. So I'm not saying someone else hasn't. Is that her handler or pimp or whatever lived in the room across the hall, and he was actually in love with her, and he actually murdered her in that room because he got jealous of all of her. And it was around the like 19 in the teens or 20s.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you have had? I mean, you said you put what did you say? You put a $20,
which is way more than the cost at that time.
They wouldn't have had those kind of notes then. You need to get a coin. You need to get a coin that would have been more. She could have been too scared to take the money.
Hell, I was willing to pay.
I'm trying to be serious. You need to find out what she would have. I personally, I would find out what they would have expected to earn back then, and try and get hold of an actual piece of money that was resembling what they would have. That was the norm for them.
We've talked about that, and I've actually never went back and recreated it because I don't know. So many people was like, "I can't believe you did that." I'm like, "Really? You're surprised that I've actually pushed the limits on things?" That's the only anybody that knows me. They're surprised I actually pushed the limits.
Doesn't surprise me. It's the sort of thing I would have done, if I'm completely honest. If I was allowed to lie on a bed in an antique building to try and get... No, I'd have done it.
Not only was you allowed to lie on it, but we spent the night there. We spent the night and slept in that bed several times.
Oh, hell,
so
I would have taken that opportunity with both hands, if you pardon the image.
You can't miss. Yeah, you can't miss out on an opportunity like that when you get a chance to recreate a situation and do it in a respectful way. I mean, granted, I had a little bit of fun with it, but in a respectful way. Yeah. But that's me. And like I said, putting that energy out there, we actually had a pretty good night investigating. It is one of the places I can say that, and we've investigated several. It's one of the few places I've actually had a personal experience at. I've not had that many. I mean, we lived in a location for 4 years, and I had maybe one or two possible personal experiences.
What, Post Town? Is it Post
yeah,
Town?
when we lived there, it was I kind of questioned those. I think that was one of the situations where I was so fresh in the field and so eager to have an experience that it was one of those situations I said earlier before the show started. Was I experiencing a manifestation, or was I manifesting my experience? And I think that was the latter part of that one. I was actually manifesting my experience at that time because I was green, I was new, I didn't know a whole lot, I was learning still quite a bit things. So I think it was more of that situation on those experiences than the later experiences that I had.
So what was your personal experience at Rhodes Hotel then?
We were in the second floor, and it's one bathroom. We've had several experiences there with a dark shadow and everything else, but we were in that room conducting an experiment, and then we were actually filming for Paranormal Mysteries. And I heard something. I was standing in the doorway, and I heard something, and I leaned back, and, just a little bit, so I could stick my head back in the doorway, and I looked to the left, nothing, looked to the right, there was nothing there, looked back to the left, nothing. So, focused my attention back in the room again, and where we were all at and conducting this session. And I heard something again, so I leaned back just a little bit, just put my head back into the hallway, and I looked to my left, and it was like there was a black, massive face, or just a dark, shadowy face. Can't say it was the face was black. It could have been a white, but it was a shadowy head. I mean, inches away from my face to face. And, of course, I bounced to the other side of the doorway and everything. I'm like, what the? And a few other words I really won't sound it right now because it kind of caught me by surprise. And, of course, it took off darting down the hallway. Well, everybody was like, well, no, come back. And I'm like, no, come back. Hell, I'm going after it. And so I grabbed one of the camera guys and the audio guys. I said, let's go. And of course, Rick Rose is filming with us. He's like, no, we don't chase him. I'm like, I am. Apparently, he wants to run away, so let's go see where it's going. So I went down the hall into the room to the right. So let's go see what's going on. And it happened to be the same room that the supposed prostitute's lover, pimp, whatever you want to call him, handler, John, I don't care what you call him, but where his room was at. So I went in and we started doing the session. We didn't have any more experiences, but it was kind of one of the few. See, I had my head touched at Ashmore, and just recently down when we was down at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, I had something run its fingers down my neck when we were having a very intense session there. So out of all the places we've been over the last 8 years, that's only the 3 places I can actually say that I've had some form of personal experience that I legitimately say was a personal experience and not something that I was manifesting myself in my own hopes and desires experience.
So how many floors are there?
There's only 2 floors, but there is an attic.
There's an attic as well,
which is active.
Well, that was going to be my next question. From the experiences you guys have had, from the experiences you've also been told from other people that they've had, where is the most active part of the building?
Our experiences would say the second floor, that one bathroom, the second bathroom. We've had around that bathroom, we've had more experiences than anywhere else.
It's the smaller bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's one in there that's got a huge old claw cast iron tub with the eagle claw
it's gorgeous.
Feet on it and stuff.
They're beautiful, those
balls.
things.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's got a shower stall in the corner and a double sink and everything. So it's a big one. The other one's not half that size.
About half that size. It has a shower stall.
Yeah.
And,
but it doesn't have the big
sink
bathtub
and the
all
toilet, and that's it. But that shower stall on 2 separate occasions, it does not work.
Right.
That shower doesn't. But on 2 separate occasions.
But Robin and them are fixing it. It doesn't work as of now.
It didn't work at that time. Let me put it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I sat there and literally watched a shadow figure slink out of it.
Really?
The same. I mean, it was identical both times.
Wow.
Well, and the one time our friend Callie Sherrill was on the other side of the room, and the room's not that big.
That was the first time it happened.
That was what? Maybe the room's maybe about 8 foot by 10 foot.
Yeah, it's not very large.
So they're not that far apart. Whatever came out of there stood up or something like that, but they couldn't. Callie's like, Teresa, where'd you go? She could not see her that close to her.
There was just enough light in the room coming from the hallway and stuff
that you could still see where people were at. But
Right.
she lost all. They could not see each other. Whatever it was, they came out there, then stood up or whatever, became vertical, and blocked the other one's vision out from seeing one another from less than 10 feet away.
Wow.
It was weird because we were talking. It's like, do you see it coming out? She says, out of the. It was like we were finishing each other's sentences, so we knew what was, that the other one was exactly.
And both of
saying.
you were very gifted energy workers.
Well, yeah.
Very gifted energy
Callie's
workers.
amazing.
She's a psychic medium, isn't she, as well? Isn't
Yeah.
Callie?
Yeah, she don't usually name herself that. We usually just goes with energy worker. That's why I said that.
Okay, sorry.
No. I'm just. But yeah, but she is very gifted in that aspect also, and actually one of those people is helping me learn how to do rune readings. I'm learning about using runes now, so I'm progressing.
He's doing very well.
Well, we were talking about progressing earlier off air, weren't we? You progress to improve and learn more and
absolutely
all of that stuff. It can only be a good thing. So this shadow figure energy, whatever you want to call it, did it have a negative vibe to it, or was it just almost like it didn't want to be anyone to see it, if you get what I mean?
The first 2 times it kind of made you feel uneasy, but not a negative vibe.
Okay.
The first time that we saw it, I did something that Callie yelled at me for, because I opened up and kind of channeled this spirit.
Mm-hmm.
We came downstairs and she yelled at Jay, telling him to make me stop, and she was yelling at me the whole time. You don't do that without telling people. I said, I didn't know I was really doing it. It just kind of happened.
What do you mean by channeling it? I can't even speak now. Channeling it.
I allowed it to speak through me.
Right. Okay.
So, and I've only done that on a couple of occasions.
But you allowed it without knowing you were allowing it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
She let her defenses down way too much.
I let my defenses down,
Okay.
and I was just trying to concentrate on it.
Right.
And then it just kind of happened.
So what did it say?
It was telling her. I can't remember. See, when I do that, I don't really remember exactly what's
I'm the
what's
same.
being
I have to
said.
rely on what other people have told me that I said. Yeah.
Right.
Kelly didn't really tell me a whole lot besides the fact that she was, I'm proud of Teresa that she can do this and stuff, but she's got to really watch what she's doing, and she didn't warn me, and she was more scared for Teresa's safety and not really too worried about what was being said at the time. She was just worried about, hey, you can't just allow something to take control of you, possess you, whatever you want to say. I mean, you say possess, most people are like, oh my God, it's evil. No, it's not evil. So calm the heck down. But she was more worried about that situation. That Teresa, if she's going to do this kind of thing, she needs to be more focused on what's going on, more aware of what's going on. And, is trying to let me know what had happened and not what was said, to look out for things in the future. So I wasn't up there. I was downstairs. We were actually doing an event for a no-kill animal shelter.
Right.
Okay.
So it was I was downstairs being the entertainment.
You had to take people. It's
the
a
off-duty
small place,
entertainment.
and we had so many people there. We were actually investigating in shifts.
Right.
So Jay was downstairs with the group that was on break, and
interacting with them, asking them what their experiences were, what they thought of things.
And then when we would come downstairs, we bring a group downstairs. He would ask them, okay, what happened when you were up there? Let them talk about what they had experienced while the other group was upstairs.
Which was kind of neat because I got sat in the middle and hear both sides. And one group didn't really know what the other group was doing while they were up there. And they wouldn't find out for a while yet because when they rotated, they didn't really get a chance to talk with one another because the other group was ready to go right away. So it actually got to piece together a lot of activity that was being actually found by one group and then confirmed by the next.
Right.
Yeah.
It was kind of an amazing situation
really cool.
doing it that way.
And then the other thing that we did, we were on a private investigation there, and we should
have been there this past weekend.
I know.
This weekend. They had Chad Limburg and Grant Wilson there.
So why couldn't you get there this weekend?
I've been working a whole lot, and I've been and I had some vehicle problems. My truck broke down, and I've had it in the shop for about a month. Yeah, it took about a month to get it back. So it's just a whole lot of other things like that going on. I'm like, dude, it just can't.
Well, I was hoping to see you in the video where Chad's got everyone doing the martial arts warm-up before they go to the investigation.
He's amazing. He's hysterical and such a wonderful force to work
I
with.
like him. I think I do. His some of the stuff he posts on Instagram when he's doing his lip syncing to songs as he's walking down. I love him. I think he's fat. I liked him as Jesse in Fast and Furious anyway, but
Yes.
I love his humour. I do love very self-deprecating as well. I'm quite happy to take the mickey out of himself, which
Right.
Yep.
I do like. I follow him on Instagram, so I do find him very.
I tell him I stalk you on Instagram. It's like, well, at least I know who one of my stalkers are. It's like, well, at least I admit to it.
Maybe that's the way to get him to talk back to me. I'll tell him I'm one of his fellow stalkers and that I know the Lynches. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll start name dropping.
I tell him all the time, I don't follow you, I just stalk you.
Well, what is social media if not justifiable stalking, really?
Right.
Let's be honest here. Let's call a spade a spade. It's stalking at the end
Yeah,
of the day.
but I have fun with you being able to use it.
We were there doing an investigation, and we had several people that had never investigated before.
Oh, yeah.
With us. So what we decided, and this was probably, Jay, about midnight or so? It was late in the investigation. And we decided we were going to take everybody upstairs.
Yeah.
And it's a long hall that has, several rooms off of it. And everybody picked a room or a doorway or somewhere, and you just sat right there.
Mm-hmm.
And we had everybody get very quiet and just listen to the building.
Yep.
And we told them, if you listen, it will talk to you.
Yep.
Well, it was really cool because you could hear the excitement in everybody's voices.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, did you hear that voice? I heard that voice. Well, what was that? Is somebody moving down there? I see footsteps or I see a shadow.
And, of course, I was trying to make sure there was nobody outside, didn't anybody on the streets outside of the building talking, anything like that, to have any kind of outside interference, because that's my job.
Yeah.
But we had so much fun doing that because their excitement, their enthusiasm was contagious.
Yeah. Yeah. I must admit, I sometimes say to people to do that. Just listen. Just shut up and listen to the building for a split second.
Yes.
Yes, you do need to ask
you.
questions. Yes, you do need to have an energy about you, but you need both. You need the mixture of both. An investigation I did quite recently, that the group I was with were very quiet. They were very shy. They didn't really speak. They almost expected it to come to them, I think. And I kept saying to them that the spirits aren't performing monkeys. You have to. They're not standing there waiting for you to put your coin in the slot of the machine and then start doing their little monkey dance for you. Those kind of old machines you used to get at the fairgrounds. It's not like that. If you walked into a room, would you expect everyone to start talking to you just because you walked in? No.
Absolutely.
But then sometimes, especially with more residual type energies and your stone tapes and all of that stuff, that doesn't respond to you interacting with it. But if you just be quiet, you can hear it, and it is it's doing both. I agree with you. It's listening to what the building wants to tell you as well. I love doing that. I think people think I'm strange sometimes. A friend's house is about 250 years old, and the minute she's quite sort of aware of things. No, that's an understatement with her, but she is very aware of stuff. And I'd gone round her new house for dinner, and she was in the kitchen doing something, and I just sat in this one room. I was sat cross-legged on the floor, and she was like, "What are you doing?" I went, "I'm listening." And I could hear stuff. But because she knows me well enough, she's like, "Okay, I do that too. I'll admit it. I sit there in my front room and just turn everything off and just listen." And I said to her, "You'll probably find me here one night. You've gone out. I'll have let myself in, and I'll just be sitting here, just listening. Just listening." Yeah. And even then, I said, "I'm just listening," and we heard a knock, like someone was knocking on her table. And she went, "Oh, that happens all the time." I went, "Yeah." I said, "That's not your neighbours." And she went, "No." And it's kind of that, okay. But you just sit and listen.
Absolutely. If nothing's being malevolent or anything like that, why not just listen?
No. So have there been many killings or murders or whatever at the Rhodes Hotel that are known about, that are documented?
Well, the prostitute.
The prostitute, yeah.
And then supposedly the reason why the attic's so active is there was the very back room on the left. It's called the preacher's room. There was actually a local minister that there's a church right across the street that he was the preacher at, and for whatever reason, he stayed there at the hotel and stuff. But I don't know the whole story of why, but supposedly he ended up hanging himself in the attic.
Right.
Oh, whoa.
The circumstances of why he ended up, I don't know whether it was, something going on with the church wrong or whatever. I really don't remember, but I just remember that, and that's why we get a lot of this stuff in the attic. You actually hear the sound like one rafter kind of just creaking. But I've always just sat there for a long time, put it off to, just the building sell anything like that. But then if you actually spend time up there, it's always the same rafter.
Right.
Okay.
It's not like it's different ones shifting with the wind or anything like that. It's one rafter in one area that does it.
And Robin and Mike have checked that for checking it's structurally a sound rafter. There's no reason why it should be creaking.
Yeah, that's
with
Robin purchasing it and from our friend Gail and stuff. When they first started it, they really started working on it. And I can honestly say that I know the Rhodes Hotel from top to bottom. I've actually crawled through the crawl space.
Yes, he did.
I've been all through the attic. I've crawled through the crawl space of it. There's not too many portions of the place above and below that I have not been through.
No, not now.
Okay. And have you ever set up sort of K2s or digital recorders or anything like that near where this beam is to see if you pick up on anything?
We've had some hits on the Mel-meter, some different fluctuations and stuff, but they didn't.
Other people have had K2 hits.
Other people's had equipment off. But with mine, a lot of people don't take the time to read their manuals and stuff with their equipment. A K2 meter, you can have a plus or a minus of 2.2. And it'd be within the normal range. So you've actually got a 0.4 fluctuation, and they went right at the edge of that fluctuation, maybe 1.1 over. So that's questionable whether it still is within inside the realm of a normal fluctuation or whether it's something outside that realm. So it's questionable. That's what I'm saying. I'm that nitpicky when I investigate.
That's fine. I think that's a good thing.
0.2. You got a 0.2, but it went 0.3. Well, that's paranormal. No, it's 0.3, not 0.4, not 0.7, a 0.3, and 0.2 is within a normal round of fluctuation. So that still could be right at the precipice of being normal, not normal. So I kind of question that. I still make a entry into my data information and stuff that I retain because I do log all that stuff and keep a record of it, but it's put down as a questionable because it's right at that threshold barrier.
Okay, so does the Rhodes Hotel have a negative feeling to it, a friendly feeling to it, or neither of the above?
You're going to get two different answers here.
Okay, go on then. As long as you explain your answers.
First of all, I absolutely love the location. Given the chance, I will go there
tomorrow if I could.
Yeah, drop everything, go tomorrow. But I've had both experiences there.
Yeah.
It took a little bit before I was able to get something that I wouldn't really say a negative experience. Apprehensive, made you feel a little uneasy. And it took a while to get to that point where I got that. Now, I also feel that with so many people investigating a location, I think that people bring things along with them. Everybody carries their own baggage.
Yeah.
So
no, you don't. You make me carry all the baggage.
Well, that's true too. But but I think that people bring things in with them, and sometimes those things, if they're negative or even if they're not, it's like, oh, hey, there's other spirits here. I'm going to hang out here. I think that sometimes they stay.
Yeah.
You don't know what other people are bringing in.
Well, the thing is, I mean, we feel comfortable in some places, so there's nothing to say that a spirit that's been loitering around someone or is attached to an item that they carry on their person or whatever doesn't go, oh, I like it here. You know, I feel comfortable here. I think I want to stay here. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I could. And like I said, I'm not saying that it is a negative place. I have not. Well, I can't really say that anymore. Until OSPH, I had not really ran into something negative. But that's the first place that I've ran into anything negative. We've been investigating for 8 years, Jay.
Yeah.
And we've been fortunate in that aspect.
Yeah.
It took 8 years before we ran into something like that was negative.
Yeah.
But the Rhodes Hotel, I would not say has a negative.
You can have negative experiences in a positive place. Me, I've had I've seen the effects of a possible negative situation there, but I've always had nothing but positive. I mean, even trying to incite something to get on the more personal side.
Right.
That's like I said. Sometimes you manifest your experience or what you go looking for, you do find. And we've been there when people like wanting to find something negative and they've had a negative experience, but they've put that energy out there, so they've received that energy back.
Right.
Yeah.
In my experience, in my opinion.
But the vibe of the place isn't a negative.
No.
Place.
No. Not,
it doesn't
not for me,
look
but
it.
we know people that claim that. We have people that say they've. In fact, one of our good friends with Cornerstone Paranormal, his ex-wife, quit investigating because of their experience there at Rhodes Hotel.
Really?
She absolutely would not ever go back there, and in fact,
she sat out in the vehicle crying
the rest of the night
would not come
and would
back
not come back in the building.
Really?
And then it wasn't too long after that she quit investigating altogether. Just walked away from the field altogether. She's done from her experiences, whatever happened there that night. Where we've never had anything anywhere near like that happen.
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
Okay.
So.
Would I recommend the Rhodes Hotel to somebody?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not only when you pay your money, you're not only going to get a great investigation, but you're also helping out the Lost Limbs Foundation.
I was going to come to that. That was going to be my what I was going to say is, how can anything negative be associated with that place where for however long it's been used as an investigation venue, it's been to raise money for charity? You know, that's got such a positive vibe to it and a positive attachment to it. Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely. That's why I think what Teresa and you were talking about earlier. I think that sometimes it's somebody that come there visiting and the spirit decided, hey, this is a kind of cool place, I'll hang out. And then after a while, they're like, you people are boring. I want to be hopping and excited, and you guys are boring. I'm out of here. Where I can go someplace where I can get more of a reaction and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's to me, it maintains such a positive atmosphere because my association with it and my experience with it has been nothing but positive. It's been either a private investigation where we've had a really good night or helping out with some form of charity event, and now helping with Robin and every once in a while and Mike when they ask me and stuff to come over and help with something for the Lost Limbs. So it's my experience with the place has always been positive. So I have nothing but positive incantation of it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you both very much for chatting about the Rhodes Hotel. I do love hearing about places that I've never been to, and you know, best will in the world I probably won't get to go to in the near future anyway. But it does sound it is a beautiful looking place, and the fact that it is there to raise money for charity as well, basically, I think can only be a good thing. But this religious person who hung himself, that's piqued my interest. I'm going to be looking that one up, I think, because I've got a theory as to why he did it that came through to me as you were talking. But we shall see.
There's always we'll delve a little deeper, but that gives people something to go check it out. Go find
everyone
out for
loves
yourself.
a mystery. Everyone loves a thriller or a mystery.
Go find out your own.
And I love leaving a little mystery out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone loves a mystery. That's why we like talking to you, Jay.
True.
Well, thanks again, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Obviously, Jay and Teresa do have their own show on Parasearch on a Thursday night with our very own Kerry Greenway. And they also have their own show on a Monday night on Paramania. How do people get to listen to that one again?
ParamaniaRadio.com. And also can look on the live Facebook feed when we go live each Monday night. For us, it's 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so it's about, midnight to 2 a.m. for you all?
About that over here in the UK, yeah. But it's all downloaded. You can download it to listen
to
after the event. And you won't judge us if we don't stay up until 2 in the morning listening to it.
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
No, come listen in. And the show's called Sit, Chat, and Laugh with the Lynches, and we do that. We do have some very serious discussions and stuff. But as you can well know by the few times you've heard me with Carrie and with Penny, that I do have a sense of humor, so you will find some laughter in there.
In fact, you're even talking about getting me on at some point, aren't you?
Have to.
Yes.
We must get you on there at some point.
Absolutely.
It's a must.
Who's your guest this week?
This week is Braxton and April Roan.
Yes.
They are a couple out of Florida, psychic mediums and stuff, investigating, and there's a lot more to it there. If you know the Roans, you will understand that there's a whole lot more that's going to be talked about that evening.
Cool. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely.
We don't leave it that long. Oh, I love talking to you guys. You know I do. But on that note, thanks everyone so much for listening to Haunted Histories tonight on Parasearch Radio. You know where we are. We're on Speaker and YouTube. All the shows are held there, so you can listen to them at any time. Shows 6 nights of the week. Some nights we even have 2 shows on a night now for you. So any subjects you want us to talk about, just drop us a message on Facebook or our email, and we'll do our best to accommodate you. And all that leaves me to say is have a good evening, sleep tight, don't worry too much about things that go bump in the night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.